Do you remember when we said Harley Davidson barely survived the 80s? Well, in the 1990s, they had money to burn and wild ideas to prove. At least they thought. They built superbikes banned from American roads, touring bikes wrapped in cowhide, and limited editions so rare dealers fought for them. Some soared, others flopped harder than a fat boy hitting a speed bump. But here's the twist. Those bold bets are now worth more than your 401k. If you're thrilled with our videos, hit that subscribe button to help us grow and drop a comment. Which is your dream ride? Here are the 1990s Harleys that prove sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Starting us off strong at number 12, the 1991 FXDB Sturgis. Around 1,500 of these black and orange beauties ever rolled out of Milwaukee, making them rarer than most supercars on the road today. But rarity wasn't the plan. This was supposed to be Harley's comeback celebration for the 50th Sturgis Rally. What made this bike special wasn't just the commemorative paint job. The Sturgis introduced the entirely new Dyna chassis, a bold engineering gamble that merged sportster nimbleness with big twin comfort. Harley was betting their future on rubber-mounted frames and belt final drives when most riders still swore by chains and direct mounting. The belt drive nearly killed sales before they started. Hardcore Harley purists called it un-Harley, too quiet, too smooth, too much like those reliable Japanese bikes everyone secretly respected but publicly mocked. Dealers struggled to convince customers that belts belonged on motorcycles, not just vacuum cleaners. Here's where Harley's timing proved perfect. By 1992, Sturgis crowds were converted. The bikes that survived those early reliability concerns became the foundation for every modern Harley you see today. The 1,500 survivors now trade hands for $12,000 to $20,000. Sometimes the most controversial innovations become tomorrow's standard equipment. Rolling in at number 11, the 1992 FXDB Daytona. 1,770 units were built, and every single one was dressed to kill in pearl white paint that could blind you from 3 parking spaces away. This wasn't just another commemorative bike. It was Harley's love letter to Daytona Beach during their 50th Bike Week celebration. The Daytona took everything that worked about the previous year's Sturgis and cranked up the show factor. Where the Sturgis went for rally tough, the Daytona went for beach beautiful. Chrome engine cases, polished exhaust, and that pearl finish that made every other bike in the parking lot look like it needed a bath. Riders at Bike Week dubbed it the Pearl King for obvious reasons, and it became the parade favorite almost overnight. But underneath all that chrome and shimmer was the same revolutionary Dyna chassis that had caused such a stir the year before. The difference? By 1992, people had stopped arguing about belt drives and started appreciating them. The timing was perfect for a show bike. Harley was flush with cash, Bike Week was booming, and riders finally trusted that these fancy new belts wouldn't leave them stranded on a 1A. Today, finding a clean Daytona means hunting down one of the shiniest relics of Harley's 90s confidence boost. Number 10, the 1993 Heritage Softail Nostalgia. Someone in Milwaukee had clearly lost their mind. Harley was celebrating 90 years in business, and instead of gold badges or special paint, they decided to wrap motorcycles in actual cowhide. Not cowhide pattern leather, not cow-inspired graphics. Real, honest-to-goodness ranch leather stretched over seats and saddlebags. The Moog Glide became an instant legend at bike rallies. Cowboys loved it, vegetarians hated it, and everyone else just stared. The black and white paint scheme looked sharp enough, but those genuine leather components required more maintenance than most riders expected. Rain was the enemy. Cracking was inevitable. Proper leather treatment became a religious ritual for owners. Harley built 2,700 of these bovine beauties, and every single one sold before dealers knew what hit them. Apparently, there were enough riders out there thinking, you know what my Harley needs? More cow. The waiting lists were longer than a Texas ranch fence. Today, survivors command 15 to 25 grand at auctions. Those cowhide components that seemed so ridiculous in 1993 now make collectors fight like they're bidding on the last steak at a barbecue. Number 9 takes us to the 1998 CVO Road King. Harley was feeling cocky in their 95th year, and they had the bank account to prove it. So they decided to beat custom bike builders at their own game by creating factory customs that cost more than most people's cars. The CVO program was born, and this road king was Patient Zero. Black and gold paint that screamed money from 3 blocks away. Fuel injection when most Harleys still used carburetors. Chrome details that made regular road kings look like they'd been shopping at the discount rack. This wasn't just a motorcycle. It was Harley's declaration that they were now in the luxury business. The gamble seemed insane. Who was going to pay dealer markup prices for a factory custom when independent shops could build wilder bikes for less money? Harley's accountants were probably having nightmares about warehouses full of unsold $30,000 motorcycles. But something funny happened on the way to financial disaster. Riders with serious cash started lining up. They wanted the prestige of owning something exclusive, but they also wanted warranty coverage and dealer support. The CVO program didn't just survive. It became Harley's secret weapon for separating wealthy customers from their money. 3,200 of these luxury pioneers rolled out of Milwaukee, and today they're worth 14 to 22 grand. Not bad for what was essentially Harley's first experiment in becoming a lifestyle brand instead of just a motorcycle company. Number 8 might be the most controversial pick on our list, the 1997 FXSTS Heritage Springer. Here's the thing. Harley made nearly 10,000 of these bikes, which technically makes it the least rare machine we're covering. But sometimes rarity isn't just about numbers. Sometimes it's about capturing lightning in a bottle, and that's exactly what happened with the Springer Fork revival. This bike was Harley's time machine back to the 1940s. They took the bouncy, chrome-heavy Springer front end that had disappeared decades earlier and bolted it onto a modern Softail frame. The result looked like something that rolled out of a pre-war factory, complete with fringed leather saddlebags and fishtail exhaust pipes that sounded like freedom itself. Rally crowds went absolutely insane for these things. The chrome Springer fork became an instant photo magnet, even though riders quickly discovered why Harley had abandoned the design in the first place. That fork earned the nickname Pogo Stick because it bounced like a kangaroo on espresso. Comfort wasn't the point. Authenticity was everything. The 1990s retro craze was hitting full swing, and the Heritage Springer rode that wave perfectly. Born-free rallies, Sturgis Main Street, vintage bike shows, everywhere you looked, these chrome-heavy throwbacks were stealing the spotlight from more practical motorcycles. Lucky number 7 belongs to the bike that made Arnold Schwarzenegger look cool. The 1990 Fat Boy, in gray ghost, silver. Nobody saw this coming. Harley unveiled the Fat Boy in 1990 with those radical solid disc wheels and monochromatic silver paint, and half the motorcycle world thought they'd lost their minds. Solid wheels? On a Harley? It looked more like a concept bike that escaped from a design studio than something you'd actually ride to work. Then, Terminator 2 hit theaters in 1991, and everything changed overnight. Suddenly, every rider in America wanted to look like a time-traveling cyborg assassin. The Fat Boy went from weird experiment to cultural phenomenon faster than you could say, "I'll be back." Those solid disc wheels were pure controversy when they first appeared. Traditionalists hated them, calling them un-American and too futuristic. But Harley's designers knew something that critics didn't. Sometimes you have to break the rules to create something legendary. The wheels weren't just for show, either. They actually improved aerodynamics and gave the bike a planted, solid feel on the highway. The gray ghost finish was equally polarizing. Most Harleys came in black, chrome, or loud colors that announced your presence from 3 counties away. This silver paint was subtle, sophisticated, almost European in its restraint. It whispered instead of shouting, which was practically heresy in the Harley world. 4,400 of these silver bullets rolled out in 1990. And today they're worth 14 to 24 grand. Not bad for a bike that half the world initially thought was too weird to succeed. At number 6, the 1995 FXSTSB Bad Boy. The mid-90s custom chopper scene was exploding, and Harley was watching independent builders steal their customers with blacked-out, stripped-down machines that looked like they belonged in a motorcycle gang movie. So they decided to fight fire with fire by building their own factory outlaw bike. The Bad Boy was Harley's answer to every custom shop that thought they could out badass Milwaukee. Blacked out everything. Engine, wheels, exhaust. Even the Springer fork lost its traditional chrome shine. The only color came from subtle accents that changed depending on the year, like the black and blue combination that made 1995 models particularly sought after. This wasn't just about looks, though the bad boy definitely had the menacing presence down to a science. The Springer fork gave it that authentic chopper stance, while the low-slung profile made it look like it was ready to prowl city streets looking for trouble. Dealers marked these bikes up 20% over sticker price, and customers still camped out to buy them. The irony was delicious. Harley was now selling Rebellion back to rebels who had originally bought Harleys to rebel against mainstream motorcycles. Only 3367 of the 1995 models made it out of the factory before color schemes shifted for later years. Those early bad boys captured something specific about mid-90s motorcycle culture that you can't fake or recreate. Halfway through our countdown at number 5, the 1999 FXR-Two. This bike represents two massive moments in Harley history, wrapped into one extremely rare package. First, it launched the CVO program that would eventually become Harley's money printing machine. Second, it marked the beginning of the end for the FXR chassis that many riders consider the best handling platform Harley ever built. FXR fans are a cult unto themselves. They'll tell you, usually after a few beers, that these bikes could outhandle anything else wearing a Harley badge. The rubber-mounted frame delivered comfort without sacrificing cornering ability, something that seemed impossible in the world of traditional Harley engineering. When word spread that Harley was killing the FXR line to make room for twin-cam engines, panic set in among the faithful. The FXR-Two came in two colors that sound like paint names from a superhero comic book: Arresting Red and Stone Cold Blue. 625 red ones, 276 blue ones. Do the math, and you get 901 total bikes, making this one of the rarest production Harleys of the entire decade. But here's what made FXR owners truly fanatical. These bikes worked. They started reliably, handled mountain curves without drama, and could tour cross-country without beating you to death. In the world of 1990s Harleys, that combination was practically miraculous. FXR riders called it the unicorn because finding a motorcycle that looked like a Harley but worked like a modern machine seemed too good to be true. Number 4 brings us the 1999 FXR-Three. If the FXR-Two was the beginning of the end, the FXR-Three was the afterlife. Harley dressed up their final FXR with flame graphics that would make a custom painter jealous, then watched as collectors fought like vultures over every single unit. The flames weren't just decoration. They were Harley's way of acknowledging the late 90s custom craze that was turning motorcycle rallies into rolling art galleries. Candy emerald green flames over darker green base coat, or bright and dark candy blue combinations that shifted color depending on how the light hit them. The paint jobs were so complex that rumors spread about Harley nearly scrapping the green version because it was too difficult to produce consistently. Those rumors might explain why only 621 green FXR-Threes made it out of Milwaukee, compared to 300 blue ones. 921 total bikes to close out one of the most beloved chassis designs in Harley history. The collectors who managed to snag one knew they were buying the last of something special. The timing was brutal for FXR loyalists. Harley was moving to twin-cam engines and Dyna frames, chasing the cruiser market that wanted more style and less sport. The FXR's practical virtues, reliable starting, competent handling, comfortable riding position, suddenly seemed less important than looking good in a parking lot. Progress. Harley style. Today, FXR-Threes command $18,000 to $30,000 when they surface at auctions. Not bad for a bike that Harley built because they were contractually obligated to produce a certain number of CVO units, not because anyone was particularly excited about keeping the FXR alive. Our bronze medal goes to the 1993 FXD WG Dyna Wide Glide Anniversary Edition. Harley was celebrating 90 years in business, and someone in the marketing department apparently thought, you know what would honor our heritage? Choppers. Lots of choppers. The Wide Glide had been kicking around since the 70s, but the Anniversary Edition turned it into something special with two-tone black and silver paint and enough chrome to blind low-flying aircraft. The Wide Glide formula was simple. Take a regular Dyna, stretch the front forks to chopper proportions, add a wide rear tire that looked like it belonged on a dragster, then wait for riders to either love it or hate it. There was no middle ground with these bikes. They looked fast, standing still, but cornering required more faith than skill. Extended forks were pure 70s nostalgia, back when custom builders were stretching everything in sight to create the longest, lowest, most impractical motorcycles possible. By 1993, that look was vintage cool instead of cutting-edge radical. The anniversary edition caught the retro wave at exactly the right moment. The 90th anniversary badging was supposedly hand-painted according to dealer folklore, though it was actually high-quality decal work that fooled most people. Harley only built 1535 of these anniversary choppers, making them significantly rarer than the more famous Fat Boy from the same era. The wide glide riding experience was love it or leave it. That stretched front end made parking lot maneuvers an adventure, while highway stability was excellent as long as crosswinds stayed calm. These bikes were built for cruising straight roads and looking magnificent doing it. Mission accomplished. The runner-up spot belongs to the 1994 VR-1000 homologation models. What happens when a cruiser company decides to build a superbike? Apparently, you get 55 of the most expensive mistakes in Milwaukee history. The VR-1000 was Harley's fever dream of competing with Ducati and Honda in AMA superbike racing, and it went about as well as you'd expect. Everything about this bike screamed, "We have no idea what we're doing." Liquid cooling on a Harley? Sacrilege. Race spec suspension that actually worked? Suspicious. Orange and black racing livery that looked more like a Halloween costume than serious competition wear? Peak 1990s excess. The real kicker was that these bikes were never intended for American roads. Harley built them purely for homologation requirements, racing rules that demanded a minimum number of street-legal versions before you could compete. So they shipped them to Poland, of all places, where someone rubber-stamped them as road-legal motorcycles. Meanwhile, American Harley dealers couldn't even order one if they wanted to. The racing program lasted about as long as a mayfly's vacation. The VR couldn't keep up with established superbikes. Harley's racing budget evaporated faster than morning dew, and the whole experiment became a cautionary tale about staying in your lane. Most of these homologation bikes ended up in European private collections after brief careers getting lapped at racetracks. Today, finding a VR-1000 means hunting down one of the rarest production Harleys ever built, $30,000 to $50,000 when they surface at auctions, assuming you can prove its authenticity. Not bad for a bike that was never supposed to exist in the first place. Taking our top spot, the 1998 FL-HTCUI Electra Glide Ultra Classic Anniversary Edition. Here's why this touring monster claims the crown. It represents everything Harley learned about building motorcycles during their 90s renaissance, wrapped up in a package that celebrates 95 years of somehow staying in business despite their best efforts to go bankrupt. The Electra Glide had been Harley's luxury liner since the 60s, but the 98 anniversary model was different. This wasn't just another commemorative paint job with fancy badges. This bike had fuel injection when most Harleys were still using carburetors that belonged in museums. It had a stereo system that actually worked, hard saddlebags that didn't leak, and touring amenities that made cross-country rides possible instead of endurance tests. The two-tone blue and silver paint scheme was subtle enough for grown-ups, but distinctive enough to stand out at bike rallies. No flames, no skulls, no graphics that screamed midlife crisis from 3 parking spaces away. Just elegant touring luxury that happened to sound like freedom when you twisted the throttle. Harley built 3,500 of these anniversary flagships, and they represented something remarkable. A Harley Davidson motorcycle that you could actually depend on for serious touring. The fuel injection started reliably, the electronics mostly worked, and the bike could haul 2 people and their luggage across the continent without major mechanical drama. That reliability was the real revolution. For decades, buying a Harley meant accepting that mechanical adventures were part of the ownership experience. The 98 Ultra Classic Anniversary proved that Harley could build dependable motorcycles without losing their soul. It took them 95 years to figure it out, but better late than never. These touring legends now command $12,000 to $20,000 at auctions, proving that sometimes the best bikes are the ones that just work exactly like they're supposed to. So there you have it, 12 bikes that prove Harley's 1990s motto should have been, "Hold my beer and watch this." These rolling experiments are now worth more than most people's house down payments, which either makes early buyers brilliant investors or incredibly lucky gamblers. Hit that follow button if you've enjoyed watching. And remember, the next time someone calls your bike purchase crazy, just point them toward the guy who bought a Cowglide and is now laughing all the way to the bank.